Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Midday Live from our news hub here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. My name is Efua Tieku. Top of the bulletin this afternoon. Deputy Chief of Staff Abu Junapor justifies ministerial reshuffle effected by President Akufo-Addo.
I mean, those who would like chewing gum, we can ban those things.
Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation pushed for ban on chewing gum as an initial step to ban plastics. President Akufo-Addo begins 5-day tour of the Ashanti region. And Zimbabwe's opposition MDC alliance race against time to present a legal challenge to last week's presidential election results today. We have details of all these and more in the next 1 hour on Midday Live. Now let's look at the stories. Now, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has begun a 5-day tour of the Ashanti region beginning today, Friday, 10th August 2018. Following earlier visits to Bunahafo, Westing, Volta, Northern, Upper East and Upper West, the 5-day tour of the Ashanti region forms part of the President's ongoing nationwide visit. Following earlier concerns about the President's long convoys during such visits, 2 intercity state transport buses have been made available for all accompanying ministers. Reports gathered by TV3 indicates all the ministers have been made to park their luxury vehicles to join the STC buses as part of a cost-cutting mechanism. So we've been joined on the phone lines by our presidential correspondent, Nana Kweku Edria. Good afternoon to you, Nana. Can you confirm that ministers going along with the president on this trip have had to park their vehicles to join the STC bus?
Yeah, they have to do that because it has been something the president has been talking about. I mean, this is not the first time it has started. The president is not a strong advocate of long convoys. I mean, even during the campaign in 2016, when he was a candidate, he spoke up against it. I mean, he's not happy about going with a long queue or long.
Why is he not happy about it? Why is he not happy about it?
The president wants things to be done in modesty. He doesn't want resources spent like that. I mean, he's a strong advocate of somebody who is a strong advocate of things done in modesty. So it's something which has been part of him for a long time. And I remember one time he went out when he became president. This is not the first time he has made some of the ministers sit in a bus. I remember one time he went outside Accra and some of the ministers joined the bus to come there. He believes that, look, this is a way of cutting down costs, is part of it. And also, I mean, he's taken a country, is inherited a country which has problems with finances. So if the president would have to ensure that he works towards getting things done right in the country and putting back the financial situation of the country on a good state, then we should be modest in everything we do. So this is something he has started already, but this time it has come out in the media, and it's something which will be carried through from henceforth.
Now, briefly tell us what his itinerary will be in the Ashanti region. Right
now, the president will call on the chief for 2432, the second, and there will be a launch of road facelifts program this afternoon. The visit will also take him to the Vesta Oil at the Bosonche constituency. An inspection of Menchia and Bantama asphalt overlay will be done as well. The meeting with the regional executive is expected, and a meeting with the MMDCs will be expected to end the day today. Remember, tomorrow too, the president has some work to be done, and a call on the Insuta Manhene, a visit to the North American farms. We have the salt cutting of the Wuntumi farms, the visit to Rockland farms, the Piposo, courtesy call of the Piposo Hene, an inspection of one dam, one district, one dam at the Mampong. So the Kumasi sanitation meeting as well to end tomorrow. And then there's one on Saturday, on Sunday, which is the church service at the St. Peter's Cathedral in Kumasi. There will be a sword cutting as well in the Bompase Road project, and a participation in the Akwesidai celebration Sunday. There will be meeting with pastors as well on that day. Then a meeting with the Muslim leaders on Monday, launch of a youth in afforestation program, the tour of the Samoa Iamoa farms, an inspection of the Haujo Road project, an inspection of one district, one factory.
Thank you very much. That's quite a packed schedule he has there.
Tuesday.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now let's still stay on the president, as yesterday he made his first ministerial reshuffle since assuming office. Now here's a news desk report on these changes.
Former Minister of Lands and Natural Resources and Acting Minister for Energy, John Peter Amewu, is now Minister for Energy. The former Bunahafo Regional Minister, Kweku Asoma Cherme, is now Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Member of Parliament for Navrongo and former Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Kofi Ada, has been moved to be the Minister for Aviation. Former Minister for Aviation, Cecilia Abnadapa, has been moved to the Sanitation and Water Resources Ministry. Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, former Minister for Information, is now Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development. Member of Parliament for Fasi Airibi and a former Deputy Minister for Information, Kujo Pong Nkrumah, has been elevated to be the Minister for Information. Member of Parliament for Agona West, Cynthia Morrison, is now Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection Designate, taking over from Tiku Afisa Jaba, who has been reassigned as Ghana's ambassador to Italy. Former ambassador to Italy, Paulina Tangoba Abayage, is now Upper East Regional Minister Designate. Member of Parliament for Isunafo North, Evans Opoku Bobie, and former Deputy Bunahafo Regional Minister is now Bunahafo Regional Minister. Member of Parliament for Techima North, Martin Otijakun, is now Deputy Bunahafo Regional Minister Designate. Member of Parliament for Medina and former Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development, Boniface Abubakar Sadiq, is now Minister of State at the Office of the Vice President. The former Upper East Regional Minister, Roxanne Bukari, is now Minister of State at the Office of the President. A former Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports, Pius Enam Hajide, is now Deputy Minister for Information. A former Deputy Minister for Information, Perry Curtis Okujeto, has been moved to the Ministry of Youth and Sports as a Deputy Minister.
Now, still on the ministerial reshuffle, a Deputy Chief of Staff at the Presidency, Abu Jinapo, has defended the President's decision to move the former Zongo and Inner City Development Minister, Boniface Abubakar Sadiq, to the office of the Vice President. Abu Jinapo said the Vice President has a very busy schedule to undertake, hence the decision to send Mr. Boniface there.
Vice President, who is running a full secretariat and literally coordinating the whole of government business under the auspices of the economic management team. So the Vice President is playful and he has a very busy schedule and undertaking. So in the wisdom of the President, Mr. Boniface will help the Vice President enormously in realizing his mandate. And that mandate is quite large and demanding. So I work at the presidency, and I know the sort of work that the Vice President is engaged in and the enormity of the task before him. So that's the reason why the minister has been reassigned to the Vice President's office.
And he was speaking on 3FM's morning show there. Now, still on the reshuffle, the new Energy Minister, John Peter Amewu, says his duty will be to ensure that electric power is available and affordable to all Ghanaians. Reacting to the first major reshuffle by President Akufo-Addo, the outgoing Lands and Natural Resource Minister says the president acted in good faith, adding his successor is capable of holding the task he is leaving behind.
His Excellency Nana Addo knows the caliber of people within this party that will render services. So I don't think that assertion is quite true. You know, I have no idea about that at all. All the people he placed in power in various positions were done with his experience. Don't forget the president that we have, you know, has been in this game for over 40 years. And so he has an experience and he knows what is good for this country. We are always asking all Ghanaians, you know, to come on board, to help the government in its agenda. You know, the power sector is very key. The petroleum sector is key. And so we expected that if we are able to stabilize, make power more affordable to the citizens, those areas that have not been accessible for power, we are able to grant them affordable electricity. Then, of course, the growth that we are expected, you know, to see will become very, you know, feasible for everybody. The petroleum sector, there's quite a lot to be done. There are huge prospective, you know, basins that are still left untapped. You are aware of the Volta basins, you know, so there are going to be an aggressive attempt for further explorations along those basins. Areas that the explorations have already been done and some level of discovery. Of course, we're going to encourage more of the companies to see how they can drill more wells. You know, in the oil sector, drilling of more wells, of course, give an indication that there's something going to be good in terms of how much barrels we bring out, you know, on a daily basis. The more barrels we bring out, you know, the more revenue, of course, comes to government. So we should be able to discover more prospective wells for future explorations. Yeah. Well, interestingly, what people don't know in this country is that this government is one of the collaborative government ever in the history of this country. We work as a team. And that is what His Excellency the President always, you know, impress upon his ministers. So it's a teamwork. So you see one minister in another place playing a supporting role to the other. So it's a collective responsibility. We don't see ourselves as a single minister, you know, responsible and delivering. So that collaborative effort, of course, will be there. And whatever expertise I have, you know, leaving this ministry, of course, I have to help my colleague. You know, Tremor is a very good minister. You know, he's been in the BA, he's been a former regional chairman, it's a lawyer by profession, and he has all the caliber to deliver where that he's been asked to come. So we need to give him the necessary support.
Well, Information Minister Designate Kojo Opon-Nkrumah has also been speaking, and he has justified the current number of ministers, noting that the move is to help advance the development of the country, contrary to claims of high pressure on public purse. Speaking to TV3's Brighton Anfo on New Day, he further dismissed claims that his former boss, Mustafa Hamid, has been demoted in his new position.
We have always explained that, first of all, we hear everybody in good faith when you say that you think the size of government or the size of the ministers is large. We hear you in good faith. But we also understand that what you are saying is that you are afraid that it will be an undue burden on the public purse. And as I heard my colleague Richard say in the studios a few minutes before I got on the line, the president, cognizant of that fact, has put in place measures to ensure that we are actually doing more with less. The ministers, as have been appointed by the president at this point in time, are not costing us what we fear. Because, as has been mentioned, about 60 to 70 of these ministers are members of parliament, and they don't cost us any extra. With this number, that is how come you have seen in the first 1.5 years our ability to deliver on the first part of the agenda. We hear you in good faith. Where we have to do those adjustments, the president is never scared to do those adjustments. This president is a president who takes even the most difficult decisions. Where we hear you and we can achieve the objective in another way so that it doesn't cost us money, but we get enough people to deliver on the mandate as well, the president ensures that we do so.
Some have suggested that there is a rift, a seeming rift between you and your boss, and that his moving to the inner city and Zongo ministry is a demotion, and yours is a promotion.
Absolutely not. It was the Honorable Dr. Hamid who told the president, when the president asked him that choose one out of the deputies that I'm going to give you. You choose one slot, I'll give you a few more. He mentioned my name without a doubt. When he came here as minister, as I worked with him, he's the one who literally taught me political communication. And indeed, when the president assigned him a new role that he was going into and asked him, who can replace you, again, he mentioned me.
Speaking is the Minister Designate for Genders, Children and Social Protection, Cynthia Morrison, and she says she's not a feminist and that she's with the men. The new addition to the Akufo-Addo government was speaking on 3FM's morning show, Sunrise.
You know, I am not a feminist, so the men, I am with you. I don't have a brother. My mother did not have a biological brother for us. My father had, but my mother did not have. But because I didn't live with my brothers, you know, our home was a girls' home. I like to bring boys together. So the men, we are going to work together. We'll make sure that you get your due, not, you know, separate you from there. Even though you are stronger than us, we just maybe, when we want to get things right for women, we have to bring the men along. Without the men, we cannot succeed.
And on this afternoon, on what do you think? We find out from you what you think of the changes made by the president in the ministerial reshuffle. Take a listen.
The ministerial reshuffle is no longer speculation. The president has made 15 changes. No one was sacked. What do Ghanaians think about these changes? We find out today on What Do You Think?
Some of the positions that have been moved are great. Kojo Nkrumah, for instance, I think he's great for Minister of Information. He's somebody who has a background in journalism as well, and I believe can speak to the topical issues. Mustafa Hamid, Cecilia Dapa, all those moves are great. Otiko Jaba, I believe, let us see what she does. As being moved from gender into ambassador for Italy, let's see how it plays out.
Now, because of the energy minister, it has caused a lot of things in the public domain. So people were asking for a reshuffling and those things, and it has happened.
Well, we waiting for the president to come out, tell us what happened, then he take him from the position. Because Jakon, he did well, you know, see that Galamsey issue, and then we did well over that position. So I think for remaining there.
The number of appointed ministers was too much for the new government, and the incompetency is still there, so I think there should be a further reduction in the size of the government.
Mustafa going to Zongo is okay. There's one for communication. Upon Nkrumah, yes, I'd wanted that one. Gender, me personally, I wasn't seeing her. Was she doing something? She wasn't doing anything, actually.
I understand that, okay, the energy minister has been taken off, and that's probably what has resulted in these changes. But apart from that, I don't know what other thinking went into the reshuffling. If the president thinks that what he's doing is he's being strategic, why not? From the onset, people have always said that the number of ministers we have in this government is too much. But the president maintains that that's the number of ministers he wants in his government.
I was expecting the number to come down rather, but instead of it going up, I think it's very bad for us. Especially spending much on ministers and their, you know, going in, going out, their money expenses. It's quite expensive for us. So let's just drop the number down, that's all. With someone like Kojo Nkrumah, I'm expecting a lot from where he is now.
If there's an inefficiency somewhere, then you make the change and you try it. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, you make the next step. I didn't know what to expect, but this is also good news. Let's see how it works.
So those were some of the views on the streets on the ministerial reshuffle. Our own Tilapia, our in-house cartoonist, also has some impressions of the reshuffle there. So if you look at what we have on the screen here, we have the president and with his machine trying to tailor his government, you know, to size. And if you can see that the civil society groups are trying to point him in a certain direction to have a lean government, but it seems the president is pretty much busy and focused on what he was doing there. They're trying to tell him, you should have something like this, but he says, well, he already cut out the energy minister, Boache Jako, there, and then trying to move around the Zongo minister and sanitation minister there. Now, all those were prior to the ministerial reshuffle. Now, as we moved on to the aftermath of that reshuffle, there you have it. We have the New Zongo and Inner Cities Minister visiting his neighborhood, and with his books there, you can tell the people are quite excited about the move there, and they're trying to tell him that he's welcome. Abochi Yazo there. And so that's it. That's how Tilapia captured the ministerial reshuffle before and after. This is still Midday Live on TV3. Let's now look at our MTN video report today, where Christian is pointing us in some direction.
This is the state of Chufu-Wamaso to Dunkwa Road. Vehicles are locked down here because of the deplorable state of the road. Passengers are compelled, as you can see, to walk a mile away from the spot to their destination. Please, we are appealing to the state, the government, to come and help us. People of Wamaso, yes, people being passengers who ply this route are really suffering. This is Christian Toku reporting from Chufu, Wamaso.
Christian, thank you very much, and hopefully the authorities are watching and that road will soon be fixed. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. Stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. You're welcome back. It's time for business, and Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited now has 175 branches, networks and contact offices in 9 regions nationwide. Bank is starting off with a capital of 450 million, a branch network of 175, and these were contained in a press release that it's authored. It's presented, and now if you look at the screen we have here, it has 175 branches, as we have noted earlier. Now, these branches are found in 9 regions of the country. The only region that it's not found itself in is the Upper West region. Now, this makes it the second largest in terms of branch networks across the country. The first, of course, will be the GCB, and the third is GN Bank with 90 branches, and the fourth is Eco Bank with 67 branches. Now, it's also saying that it's starting off with a capital of 450 million cedis. That's 50 million more in excess of the capital requirements that the Bank of Ghana is asking for. Now, it's saying it's a fully owned indigenous bank, 100% owned by governments of Ghana. Branches and strategic business units are fully open for business. It is well capitalized in excess of the BOG requirements. And of course, there's absolutely no loss of customer deposits, and it will also be going through a stabilization period to synchronize its operations. Well, so its mandate here, it's saying that it will use its vast size and knowledge and vast experience to support small businesses and also large businesses to ensure that they are stable, and also a stable financial sector to finally support the industrialization drive of this government. Now, its vision, very, very important, and it's saying that it wants to build an enduring institution. That's the key with the enduring, obviously, with the background of this bank. It would want to be enduring institution that would become one of the beacons of Ghana. Very well, let's look into some agricultural issues. And Cocoa Board has expressed concern at the rate at which the country is losing cocoa lands to other commercial activities. The Chief Executive of Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahinedu, believes this is a threat to the sustainability of cocoa production in the country. He was speaking at the 80th anniversary lecture of the Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana in Accra.
The Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana, a division of the Ghana Cocoa Board, was set up in 1938 as the Central Cocoa Research Station of the Department of Agriculture of the Gold Coast. It undertakes research into all problems relating to the production, processing, and utilization of cocoa and other mandated crops. It was initially set up to investigate problems of pests and diseases which had considerably reduced cocoa production in the eastern region. Today, CRIG provides advice and guidance to small-scale cocoa farmers on how to boost yielding capacity, the quality of their cocoa, diversification and utilization of the crop, and generate additional income for farmers.
A lot of research work have been done by the research institutes, not only Cocoa Research Institute. They are lying on, let me say, in the libraries and other things, which really needed to be taken up by industry.
World-renowned cocoa researcher and cocoa supply chain expert Tony Lass praised the performance of Ghana's cocoa industry over the last 80 years.
Ghana has is the reputation for quality and the reputation for open, honest, straightforward contracts with the Ghana Cocoa Marketing Company. And that is a very precious asset that should be maintained and retained forever.
The chief executive of Cocoa Board indicated the cooperation between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire to have a single voice on the international market is on track.
For Côte d'Ivoire, whether the price is good or not, they will send cocoa to the market. And anytime Ghana goes in, it means all of us are there and then we flood the market, which is not the best. So we are trying to harmonize. And they are understanding us so that they also adapt our system of trading. And then we have a common system of trading. Then we can decide what volumes of cocoa to be sent to the market.
National authorities in the area and sought for their cooperation.
Now, Chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, Dr. Steve Mantiao, is unhappy about the lack of implementation of the committee's annual report. Speaking at a stakeholders forum, he cast doubt over the prudent management of Ghana's petroleum resource.
Petroleum is a non-renewable natural resource whose exploitation involves its transformation into financial assets for economic development. The petroleum reserves of a country reduce with every barrel extracted, hence the need to ensure sustainable management and efficient utilization of the proceeds from petroleum production. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, was created by the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, PRMA, Act 815, to provide an independent oversight of the collection, allocation and utilization of Ghana's petroleum revenues. In pursuit of its mandate, PIAC has published 7 annual reports since 2011. However, this has not received the needed attention.
Let me concede that some of the reports have been acted on, but there are several other recommendations that are yet to be acted on. And so at one of PIAC's meetings, we decided that our mandate will not be fully served if we just restrict ourselves to making disclosures without ensuring that the recommendations we make are actually acted on. So first step, we met with the Auditor General and brought some of our adverse findings to his attention with a view to getting the Auditor General to conduct audit investigations into particular projects.
Dr. Mantiao was of the opinion that Ghana has failed to prudently manage her petroleum resource.
The evidence we've gathered so far speaks to a certain widespread abuse in the use of petroleum revenues. In some instances, we've come up against non-existent projects funded with oil revenues. We've also come against a lot of shoddily executed projects that were executed and completed, and within a year, they're already deteriorating, speaking to low quality of materials and all that. To sum it up, I would say no, the oil revenues have not been managed very well.
While PIAC's work has contributed to transparency, analysts say accountability is yet to be fully attained in the management of the petroleum revenues of Ghana.
The Minister for Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, has suggested the ban of chewing gum as one way of tackling the menace of plastic waste in the country. Speaking on the sidelines of a sensitization seminar on the implementation of the Hazardous and Electronic Waste Control and Management Act 917 in Accra, the sector minister said he did not believe the complete ban of plastics, as there were bigger problems confronting the sector.
Of preparing our plastic management policy, and we hope that by October, November, we should have that one, so that we can deal with it, so that when we all agree on what to do, everybody will buy into it. Personally, I'm not in favor of total ban from the very beginning, because we have other challenges. I mean, from illegal mining with pollution of water bodies, people in the communities are not able to use river water as they did in the past. So everybody is using plastic, sachet water and things like that. So we may have to start with, let's say, the ban of shopping bags, plastic bags, straws for drinking, and also probably chewing gum. I mean, those who like chewing gum, we can ban those things. With regard to the plastic at the beaches, most of it doesn't originate from the beach, from inland. So we all have to, keep our environment clean, know how to dispose of things, and do recycling, try to segregate the waste at source, so that these things can be managed properly.
So that was Professor Yao Frimpong Watson there, trying to say that gums and straws should be banned in the country as a way of banning plastics. No, let's now come into the studios, and we've been joined by Daniel Yao Tonyiga. He's the Director of Policy and Sustainability at the Federation of Plastic Manufacturers, Regulators and Users, Ghana Limited. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So what do you make of the professor's view that we should ban straws and gums?
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. First and foremost, it's a right call in the right direction. Ever since the minister came to the office, we have been having some engagements with him, and I think starting with the chewing gum, even though how small, you see, when the news came out, it wasn't that juicy, so to say, because everybody is looking at a bigger picture of plastic waste littering. But indeed, chewing gum is one of the constituents of plastic waste menace. And then,
how big is that?
Well,
because if you look at the scope of the situation we are dealing with, someone would say, this is really not something to talk about.
That is very true. Absolutely, it's very true. But you see, that is the wider picture of banning. And you can attest to the fact that what he was saying is that he wants to have a systematic approach in the general ban of plastics in Ghana. Now, when you want to look at that statement that he made, I'm saying it's a right call because, one, banning straws, for example, is a very good component. When you ban straws, you ban chewing gums. These are lesser percentages when it comes to the waste management stream, when it comes to plastics. Now, when you are able to deal with these ones, you have a way of working around the clock and getting into other single-use products. You see, single-use products, they are the ones we dispose.
But if you're looking at gums and straws, and you also look at the single-use plastics, like the very small microns of the plastics that we use, then you would say, why isn't he tackling those first? Because those ones are the ones that are really causing the problem. And these ones, some would say, is really quite small, a percentage.
Okay, so the bigger picture, as I made mention, is the fact that Ghanaians
Or is it that it's too difficult for him to look at those issues, so he rather wants to start?
I don't see that as a difficulty to the minister. The minister has been forthright ever since he came to office. And I can say this, that the bigger picture, the consciousness of Ghanaians in respect of waste generation in plastics had not been raised too high. I want us to look into going to a very systematic policy on recycling. Now, chewing gum constitutes less than 2% of the general waste stream in Ghana. Right. So it is not even an issue. But when we are looking at recycling, we're not even looking at go beyond recycling and say we are tackling ban. Because, number one, if the general population understands that, one, we need not to litter anything. Number two, we need to segregate and separate our waste. Number three, waste management companies should not mop up every waste they come and collect in our various households. Number four, we have what do you call it? The place set for plastic that has been collected for recyclers to come and pick it up. Some of these plastic we see in our street will not be there. If we are conscious enough to raise up enthusiasm for plastic recycling in Ghana, it is one big deal, Because as we speak today, can you imagine less than 5% of plastic we generate are recycled? It is a shocking statement, but the reality is that if we always generate, and we don't recycle, what will you see is what is happening.
Now, the professor also mentioned that he's really not a fan of the total ban on plastic. Obviously, it's something that a lot of people actually speak against because plastics are useful in some sense.
Yeah.
But what about a partial ban? You are with the Federation of Plastic Manufacturers and Regulators. What about those very thin, small microns of plastic? Would you be happy if we ban those ones?
Okay.
The very thin microns of those plastic.
Yes. You see, I will not go for ban when it comes to packaging materials. You are talking about the black carrier bags, right? Fine. It is a lighter micron, but that micronage is around 35, 40 micronage. You understand? When you are mentioning lighter micron, I thought you were going to mention string films that is used to cover food. They are lighter. That is 9 microns. You understand? But
what would be the percentage of that? How many of those do we use? You understand? So the ones that we actually use are those black polythene bags, the very thin packaging ones.
My advocacy will not go for ban, neither partial ban, but my advocacy will go for raising the consciousness of every Ghanaian that let us not mix up our waste. Plastic can be used very long time. We can recycle it as many as we want to do as a Ghanaian. So everybody must understand it from that word go. Number 2, when we separate them, the waste management companies should not mob them up. There are very few recycling. Number 3, I want government to be very, very, audacious when it comes to supporting the medium and smaller recycling industries in Ghana. I have written to the 1D1F Secretariat to at least set up one recycling entity in every region. Do you think we will see all this waste? No. But the reality, when you go to the northern region, for example, when you are driving towards the northern region, you see plastic all over, especially when it is in the drying season. You see them all over. They are not producing. We are producing in Accra, but they are shifting it to that region. And nobody is having anything to pick the waste, bring it to the recycling, to be recycled. The challenge as a Ghanaian, I want to, just to wrap up, I want to advocate the minister to go to the extent of organizing the recyclers, supporting, let the government have some kind of a support for them to increase their production of recycling. Because when we recycle,
right, I think you've made your point.
Manufacturers
you have made your point.
A way of using it.
You have made your point. Thank you very much, Daniel Yaltoniga, Director and Policy and Sustainability with the Federation of Plastic Manufacturers. Thank you very much for your time. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. When we come back, we have sports. Welcome back. Zimbabwean opposition politician Tendai Biti has appeared in court in handcuffs on charges of inciting violence after he was deported from Zambia. Zambia's government rejected Mr. Biti's request for asylum on Wednesday. Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa said Mr. Biti had been released on bail following his intervention. Prosecutors accused Mr. Biti of fueling illegal protest by rejecting Mr. Mnangagwa's victory in the fiercely contested elections on 30th July. At least 6 people were killed 2 days after the voting clashes between security forces and MDC Alliance supporters who alleged that their leader Nelson Chamisa had been robbed of victory. There was great optimism that the elections will bring real change after the end of Robert Mugabe's 37-year rule in November. But the MDC Alliance says the security forces have launched a brutal crackdown on the opposition following the disputed poll. Mr. Biti is the first senior opposition politician to be detained since Mr. Mnangagwa took over from Mr. Mugabe. Mr. Biti was freed on $5,000 bail and ordered to surrender his passport. Up next is entertainment news. Born Evans Bosompem, ace comedian and actor Bob Santo passed on in 2002. But 16 years on, there are a lot to remember for him. The comic actor really served his country well, creating irresistible jokes to crack up his audience in times of stress. Enjoy a special throwback on comedy pioneer Bob Santo.
Bosompem. Comedy pioneer Bob Santo rose to prominence on account of his sterling showmanship. His witty jokes and creatively crafted commentary filled faces with laughter, earning him many admirers. Santo, a regular face on popular TV entertainment program Key Soap Concert Party, did a yeoman's job, inspiring other great comedians. Comedy enthusiasts particularly enjoyed his fantastic partnership with Ebusiapeni Judas, an actor considered his partner in crime. The duo were simply inseparable, and movie makers had no option than to cast both actors. Featuring Santo and Judas was a sure bet that a movie will achieve a huge commercial success. Till date, Ghanaians miss their humorous banter and petty quarrels. Bob Santo landed several movie roles. His memorable movies include Sika Sum Sum, Hard Times, 419 and Double Sense. Here is Bob Santo proposing to a lady.
Now, Papa or Pakrantinam? Hey! A canteen na Mario, or me and be a canteen. Okay. And you are kind of super far. What I told you, so so a castle. Hey, Opa and Wabefi. Hey, now I'm sorry, my question. Oh, some commode, a young teacher, your father, Papa. And that's why I just when you are sending a canoe, you are some cafe. Now, Mama quite.
His remarkable role in Banker to Banker, produced in the 90s, is still fresh in many minds. He really served his country well, entertaining and providing irresistible jokes in difficult times. If the saying that happiness contributes to long life is anything to go by, then comedy legend Bob Santo added a bit of long life to everybody's. Santo may be gone, but his works and comic values still live on.
Secretary, talking now.
Now that's some real throwback, and that will be it for Midday Live on TV3. Do go to 3news.com for more news, and also let's hear from you on our social media platform at TV3 Ghana. My name is Efua Tieko. Have a lovely afternoon and weekend.